So you've had such an amazing career, dude. Like, I mean, you've gone from Stanlib, Standard Bank, Investec, all these major companies.
Yeah.
What made you decide to actually venture into your own company, consulting and advisory company?
I think, so you always know, I mean, I think most people, not everybody,
Yeah.
but there are many people who always think that I think as part of the one day I'm going to do my own thing.
Yes,
You know what I mean? So
yes.
that's always, I think, a start. And then, and I think over a period of time when you work in institutions, you always think, you know, I think this could be done better or differently or whatever. So I think that there was always that. So when I went to join Standard Bank, I left Standard Bank actually after a year maybe of working there. But I always...
That was your last company?
That was the last company I worked with. And then I thought, I think I can do this differently. So I work in country risk. Country risk is much like, it's actually the same thing as what the ratings agencies do. Because the bank lends money to different projects in different places. So Standard Bank, of course, has branches in the rest of the continent. And so, and most of the capital is raised here, so, and then it is sort of distributed to the rest of the continent.
Yes.
You have to find out what we call the chances of getting your money back. So,
yes.
And that's the risk part of the business. So there's credit risk, which is like the particular risk of that thing, and then the particular risk of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll talk about things like, you know, transferability and convertibility, which is like, if I then say to a project in Nigeria, and the money will be transferred from here to there, because obviously it's likely to be dollars or naira, you transfer your money there, it will be sent in dollars. Now when you get your money back on your returns, when they pay you back, the first thing they have to do is to transfer that money from dollars into rand, and then it has to cross the border in those terms.
Okay.
You understand? So you have to make sure that the likelihood of that happening is high.
So that's the country risk.
That's the country
role.
risk. So when ratings agencies are upset with us, they are evaluating those two things: our ability to pay and our willingness to pay that. If they give South African government, what are the chances they're gonna get? You know, each investor giving us money, they're gonna get their money back, and that money can move. Okay. So MTN will tell you they have some money in geographies where that money can't leave because you have to transfer across borders. This is for legal reasons, for financial and economic reasons. So every single transaction has to be looked at on the basis that your money will return. So that is the kind of thing that you do, but it involves obviously looking at the different kinds of the political system, the economic system, the different kinds of things that all the ratings agencies keep telling us, which we hear on the radio. So that was the kind of work that I was doing. And having been at Stanley before, it was similar, you know, economic research into that. I was also working on the African continent. So when I started thinking about it, I thought, actually what I always wanted to do is I want to be my own person. I could take clients and people that are interested in the continent, to work the ground, to learn a little bit more. And I have the contacts now, I have the familiarity, and obviously what you think, the skills and exposure.
And the brain.
And of course, yeah. So that was the thing. And so I thought that was what I want to do. And all businesses start with an idea, and then you think that's the way it's going to happen, and then things change. The first thing that changed, I think, was it was the wrong time, because as though Africa was the flavor, you know, at the time, things changed. Which actually, interestingly, is almost like, you know, things are going to change, because in a sense, part of country risk is to see when things are changing. Things are changing very quickly.
That's in terms of attracting international clients.
Capital, in terms of the Africa story. So the Africa story was what I was going to participate in selling, and the Africa story changed.
What is the Africa
cycle?
Story?
So you know, the Africa rise and growth.
Oh, okay.
Things. Suddenly we saw Ghana struggling. African, you know, Ghana changing, Nigeria was changing, political systems, and the story wasn't so great. The Kenyans were struggling, so then people started calling back, and many companies were starting to get burned on the continent. So it was not as great a story as it had initially started. So it wasn't great. But I started also getting like different kinds of projects. People like, do this, do that, do this, do that, and then you sort of start readjusting, and then the business sort of evolves to what I think has evolved to now. But part of the push factor was also I had some problems with my boss. So I thought, if you have a problem with your boss, there's always one person who's going to leave. And it's never likely to be your boss, right? So it was going to be me. And so I thought, you know, I'm done here. And then I left. So,
but I mean, to decide that you
one was, I was always going to do it anyway. And the second one was like, look, maybe the time is now, because
do you work well under direction though?
I would
Or
think
you're
so. I mean,
rebel?
a lot of people ask that question. So my brother said, yeah, sorry, but your problem. But I mean, I'd always looked in that direction. I don't think that that's an issue. Of course, I have my own ideas. You know what I mean? I think that in many ways, that's important for anybody. So, but I don't think I'm an insubordinate person.
Okay.
This was different. I could tell the detail, but no, I don't think that was a problem whatsoever.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I do under direction. Yeah,
Okay.
of course. And also as an entrepreneur, I think it's impossible. You see, you've got to be very humble if you're going to have your own business, because the thing is this, everybody knows your boss. And so it's not as if you call your own shots. A lot of people say you call your own shots. You don't call your own shots, I was saying. And says, I want to see you now, you go, I can say, well, I will not come now. Or, clients ask for different things. You don't tell them. You may suggest different ways.
But I would say even with the people you're working with, like there's a respect that you also need to give them, because you're not just doing it alone as well.
I know. Yeah, sure. So, no, it isn't. I think that's why sometimes I always say to people, if I look at all the people I respect as entrepreneurs who are successful, they tend to be very humble. And the reason I always say, but if you're successful, why would you be humble, Pick anybody, Richard Branson, they're humble, accessible people. Because you have to put your head down for the most part, you're always bowing down because you've got to happen. People are helping you do stuff, people are helping you access opportunities. Everybody's trying to help you, and so you learn actually that, you've got to be grateful, you've got to be humble, because that's the way it gets very difficult and you've got to ask for help. So you get a little bit more humble than most people.
With the entrepreneurship journey, with you it was different. Some people come straight out of varsity. They even start their company during varsity or high school. Then it continues to grow and expand. Do you think there's an importance with having prior experience like you did in all these different companies?
Yes.
Or, just jumping into it and learning as you do. There's people like Jay-Z who, kind of just go into this thing.
So it depends what kind of business you're doing, but for the most part, I would say you need some experience.
Yeah.
I would say. But there are different kinds of companies. So, for example, people in IT, right? There was a time in the IT sector in particular where people were just coming out of varsity, having figured out something new and important, and they were going to create it. Mm-hmm. Those people would have never had you didn't need experience to do that, right? Because nobody was going to, where were you going to get the experience? Because they were creating things that had not been there before. So you didn't need experience of that sort of thing. So, and that kind of thing, obviously, you don't need experience. If you are coming up with something that you've never seen and never done, going to work for a bank or a manufacturing firm, whatever, is not going to give that experience because, well, you are coming at us with something that we haven't seen before. So there's that. Then there's the stuff where you have to get experience. And sometimes, depending also on your networks, one of the most important things in business I found is networks, your connections that you have with people. Whether they are just, how warm people feel about you, people can introduce other people, your friends that will help you when you have no money to pay for petrol, things like that. So all of those things are your networks, those are the close networks people introduce to people. If you don't have it, and I think then that sort of thing is critical, and I think for me that has been very important. Mentors, those are people that have mentored people who I came knowing into the space. So it depends on the venture, on the person, but I think centrally for most people, you will certainly need some experience, some exposure to be able to, and some networks to be able to make it work. And I often say I do sometimes think it's a bit cruel to set up young people coming out of matric, especially young black people coming out of matric, to say to them they must be entrepreneurs, because I think it's very difficult. I didn't start this business not as a nobody, right? By that time I had, as you mentioned, a column in the Daily Maverick. I certainly had a column in the Business Day. I was appearing on TV regularly.
Oh yeah, most.
I had a savings in my bank account. Yeah. I had a place to fall back on. Another place I had friends who, as I say, would help me with petrol. Who showed me, if you struggle, I have a spare room. So I had a lot of stuff that sort of was basis. It didn't stop it from being extremely difficult. So it took a long time to find the work. I'd run out of all the money that I'd made. I'd saved. I'd run out of connections. People had no answering their phones. So it's sort of, so it's not so easy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Looking from the outside, we think, it looks so glamorous, this guy who started his own company, and not just you now. It's
Sure.
I think it's an experience with all entrepreneurs. I've met many, and they all say it's not what you think.
It's not everything about it. I think there were those moments when I thought, sure, if somebody had told me how hard it would be, maybe I would have stayed there and struggled with my ex-boss.
Yeah, but isn't that struggling time limited though?
It is limited. I mean, I don't know that it's limited when you are in it.
Okay.
Somebody will say, well, it's limited. Some people also say, your first 3 years will be difficult. 3 years is a long time.
It is.
It's a very long time, and that's why many people think in that time. You get to have people threatening to take your car, your credit cards get cancelled, certain numbers you don't answer and you don't know it because it might be your credit card people wanting their money back. So it's all of those things.
But how do you keep the faith and the vision then with everything that's happening?
I don't know. I don't think you have a choice.
I
can't speak to other people.
Have a choice.
I can't speak to other people, but I can speak for myself, I suppose.
Yeah.
I just didn't think I had a choice. I had to stay the course.
Okay, because you started and you had invested so much of your time.
I had to stay the course. I think that. I mean, for me, I believed in what I was doing. I thought that it was important. I would do something important, and I wanted to do it. So I didn't really think I had a choice about it. So I don't know. I guess some people would say, actually, are you gonna go back? Why don't you go back? It was never an option. I remember the one time actually somebody called and offering me a job, and I thought this is a great opportunity. There was a time in my life I would have taken it, but I just said no. I don't know. I don't know really the answer to that question. I don't know the answer, but I just think most people I think it's maybe about everything else we do. People realize we have to stay the course.